Welcome to the Mormon Environmental Stewardship Alliance podcast. I'm your host, Cecilia Foster. Today, we talk with Hannah Barton, the MESA Board Secretary. We talk about climate change, waste reduction, and what we can do as individuals to minimize our impact on the planet. Stay with us.
My name is Hannah Barton. I work at the Common Ground Institute, which is a small consulting firm started by former Congressman Ben McAdams. And within MESA on the board, I am the secretary.
Why, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, do you care about climate change?
Ultimately, the issues of climate change, yes, they negatively impact our environment, they negatively impact animals, but ultimately, when we get to the end of this, climate change is, going to be the greatest threat to humans. We're taught in the church to care about the people around us, and our theology is really focused on the fact that we are all children of God, and I'm really motivated to help people that are dealing with the really negative effects of climate change, whether that be drought and wildfires in the West or people who live in developing countries who may be dealing with, significant drought or significant flooding, things like that. I'm just really motivated to care for the people around me and to care for the earth around me. We were sent to this earth to, experience our lives and to use our agency. And this earth is kind of a gift for us to use, obviously, but also to take care of. Something about the fact that we were sent to earth to use our agency really sticks with me in the daily choices that I make when thinking about climate change. So using that lens, I recognize that the choices I make impact my environment. And so I am just really mindful of using my agency to try and make good decisions to combat climate change in any way that I can on an individual level. I know that the choices that we're making here on Earth, we will be held accountable for. And I want to try and make good decisions as far as my environment and what I'm doing to try and be a steward of the earth. So scripture comes to mind, by small and simple things are great things brought to pass. If the entire LDS community has the same mindset that, my decisions won't impact the environment that much. We are a huge population in Utah especially, but worldwide as well. And if all of us have that same mindset, then obviously it does create a bigger problem if we're all saying it's not that big of a deal. It's that mindset that is our downfall. The mindset that my actions don't impact the environment that much. And the really small things that we do, I think do have an impact. And if all of us had the mindset that, I'm going to try and use paper grocery bags or reusable grocery bags. I'm not going to create plastic waste. I'm not going to buy things wrapped in plastic as often as I can. I think those types of decisions add up and ultimately have a better impact on just our local environment and landfill and on a global scale as well.
When we talk about climate change, it's usually doom and gloom. But what are some things that you've been noticing or seeing that are exciting in the fight against climate change and that give you hope?
Yeah, it's tough to talk about climate change. I think especially in the summer when it's, we're hitting heat records every single day and seeing just like the crazy effects of climate change, of the Arctic Circle being, reaching above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and these crazy things that I guess create a lot of fear, which I think is, a healthy amount of fear is good. But mostly I see the youth, the younger generation, and I'm 26, I'm not particularly old, but I see people younger than me, probably this Gen Z generation, that are really willing to act on these things and have these tough conversations and call out leaders when they're not properly addressing climate change as an issue. So I think a lot of the church teachings will often talk about, the chosen generation or these younger generations that are carefully selected to, fight these big fights, whether moral or ethical or spiritual fights that previous generations maybe didn't have to deal with. I think climate change is one of those fights.
This month at MESA, our theme is recycling, waste, and litter reduction to go along with Plastic-Free July. So why is this topic so important? Why should we be striving to limit our personal waste and our, larger societal waste? Why is that important, and how does that fit into being a good steward?
Humankind right now is just really about instantaneous things. We're all about fast fashion and buying things brand new and using them a couple times and then throwing them away. And that just really does not sit right with me. And it's something that has always irked me a little bit. And we've seen past generations, really utilize things really well. And I think people that were born kind of post World War II were maybe teased a little bit for keeping everything that they had and using things even when they were really old. But I really like that mindset of, using what you have and not feeling the need to buy something new. Eventually our landfills will fill up and then we will have nowhere to put all of our trash. And we are really just filling our planet with garbage. And that's not what I want to do. And it's tough because the things that are cheaper, the things that have a lot of plastic waste, those are also accessible to people. So there are some people who maybe live far away from a grocery store or aren't able to get everything fresh, in a beautiful Instagrammable linen bag all the time. And so I try to be mindful of the fact that plastic waste is sometimes a necessary evil, especially for those who don't have access to greener or more sustainable options. But for those of us who do have that access and have the privilege to be able to make the choice to shop at sustainable stores, shop locally, I think those choices are really important and have a lot of different positive benefits.
And what advice do you have for someone just starting on this journey to try to limit their personal waste and to move away from plastics as much as they can in their lives? What advice do you have for people trying to do that?
I would say start small. What I typically do, most people every January set New Year's resolutions, but I typically set different sustainability goals every January. So maybe about 5 years ago, my very first goal was to just stop using plastic grocery bags. That was my whole goal for the year. And it takes you a while, to get used to bringing your reusable bags in with you. And, even if you forget to bring your reusable bag, then you have to carry out all your groceries in your arms. But really just committing to that goal until it became a habit and I didn't even think about it anymore. And then the next year, my sustainability goal in January was to stop using plastic hygiene products. So no more plastic shampoo bottles, no more plastic conditioner bottles, and no more plastic toothpaste tubes. And those, were a little bit tricky, especially as someone who really likes, skincare and trying new products and things like that. But ultimately, I was able to accomplish those goals, specifically from some local businesses here in Salt Lake that allow you to bring in your containers and fill them up with the products you need. That was a pretty small adjustment in my life that felt more manageable because I was only focused on that one thing for the year, And then the following year, my sustainability goal was focused on, transitioning to a vegetarian diet. So it's really about just picking bite-sized pieces of new habits that you can develop over time and then slowly adding to that until you feel like you have a better grasp on, the plastics that you're consuming.
Hannah's passion for waste reduction and reusing and recycling has led her to a new business endeavor. Listen as she explained how her and her sister founded Sugar House Vintage.
When I was at home so much last year, I spent a lot of time redecorating my apartment. I fully credit to my sister. She really introduced me to thrifting and got me to see that there's a lot of fun pieces that you can thrift. And, I could take my home decor addiction, I guess, and apply it to thrifting. I could start thrifting vintage furniture and vintage art and vintage dishes and lots of fun things that have already been produced and are already existing in the world. I don't need to buy something new that will then create, new pollution and new waste. I can just buy something that's, already been used and frankly is cuter and more unique than the things that I could get at Target. So that was a fun, I guess, hobby to focus on last year during the pandemic. And it's something that my sister and I really love to do together. And so we decided to open a little vintage shop. And we sell the vintage things that we find on Instagram. Our shop's name is Sugar House Vintage. And we are able to sell these things to locals here in Salt Lake to encourage them to be more sustainable in their purchases as well. Really fun to do, and it's a new sustainable practice that I've introduced in my life. If I want a new piece of furniture or a new piece of art, the first place I look is a thrift store, and the second place that I look is Facebook Marketplace, because chances are there's someone in the community that has something similar that is willing to sell it. So that's been a fun way to reduce waste in a way that I hadn't ever really considered before.
We have a responsibility to take care of our planet and to limit the impact we have. We are stewards of this earth, and we need to respect it for what it is, God's creation. If you're interested in this topic and other environmental issues, be sure to check out our website, www.mesastewardship.org. We are also on all social media platforms at Mormon Stewards.